I don't feel like doing this, but early 2026, and more specifically February, be putting out some interesting albums. This time we've got some really deep, weird cuts for you, plus some local Chicagoland bands to discuss. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Death Metal Pug is next. Welcome back to Death Metal Pug. I'm Pug of the Apocalypse. I want to be a rock star when I grow up. The purpose of this is to have fun and talk about music. If for some reason we can help out your band, project, or business, please reach out to us at deathmetalpug@gmail.com. I'd like to thank Kurt Ballou for being on last week's episode. Local night in the Forge at Joliet on Saturday the 21st. I've been to the Forge like numerous times over the years for different bands. I forget what it was called before the Forge, but they used to hold metal shows as well there. Interesting mix of a crowd, friends and family kind of show. Maybe mostly, I think. I saw two people there in Creed shirts. You heard that right. But there was also a guy there in a Fetus shirt. So it was just all over the place, depending on you where you were in like your metal journey, I guess I'll say. Kind of a younger crowd. And the band members' dads, it looks like. Some goth girlfriends, neck tattoos, and a few moms hanging about. Felt like some of the crowd were first timers. And this, might have filled a particular niche of a 16 to 19-year-old group. I'm so old, I can't, tell anymore if somebody's like 14 or 20, but I'll never scold a young person for burning off negative energy in the right way, and vaping is not the way to do that. In my mind, being a poser is not about liking or not liking a particular band. It's about like, how deep are you in it? Or maybe we're in it or something like that. Do you see local shows? Do you see local bands? Or are you one of the kids trying to create the new music? All that's great stuff. Being in a band or seeing your friend do it at a local coffee shop or VFW hall is where it's at. I don't get to do that stuff as much anymore, but I get a bit of info from my buddies about local bands and stuff as well. The Forge in Joliet, Illinois hosts a lot of extreme metal bands and reserved a Saturday night for local bands, which is very much appreciated. We missed the first two bands. I thought it started at 6:30, but it went on earlier, evidently. The first band I saw was Beheading the Icon. Now, in this band, interestingly, the singer and drummer looked like your drunk uncle at 20 years old. The drummer looking like 70s era Meatloaf was actually pretty cool. Big voice on vocals, I thought. Live, I heard a bit of Travis Ryan, some screams as well. The vocals maybe worn out a little bit that night, but had what sounded like big authoritative cleans, though offering a different dynamic to the vocals as well. The vocalist just like slithered around the stage like Mick Jagger doing crazy vocals. He'd like carefully move around, sometimes like sitting up on the drum riser and maybe like crossing a leg, but he would never like break his like crazy vocal cadence, which was kind of cool. Everyone in this band seemed like awesome musicians. Some stadium swagger to this group. Seriously, I thought, like, time changes all over the place. One guitarist would have like a nice tremolo pick kind of pacing over the other guitarist, layered over that just like sounded like so cool live. Drums carried the beat and the basses was like up front, loud and center. Metal band, metalcore maybe, leaning deathcore or something like that, but I thought they were pretty darn good. I went back and jammed their albums. They had a new single come out October last year. Their 2024 5-song EP titled Vitriol. It didn't have the impact on me that it did seeing them live, but the song on that album called Dollmaker is worth checking out. I wondered if that song I described like at the concert like a second ago, I wonder if that was like that like song played live, because I just loved how those like tremolo guitars are just layered over the rest of the like the other guitar and musicianship as well. The EP is a bit modern, kind of computery. It's technically proficient, those like not quite typewriter kind of kicks put together. I heard like so much more potential from this band that night, I thought. I spoke with one of the guitarists and the drummer at the merch table, and I messed up in my usual awkward way, and then I assumed they were both the guitarist, forcing the drummer to finally go. I'm actually the drummer. After getting some shirts and stickers and forcing them to have like awkwardly make conversation with me, I walked away leaving a beer at the merch table, I think. I remembered a little bit after going like, didn't I have a beer? Fail. Check out Beheading the Icon. The best beer I can get at the Forge is Goose Island IPA, and a couple of those wasn't quite enough for me to fully enjoy the next band, a local band called Beneath the Hollow, a more like metal Pantera, but with a lot of cleans to the music, a lot of like good cop, bad cop kind of stuff. The Creed boys love this band. You know what's weird about the Creed guys? They both had on like matching Creed shirts, Carhartt jackets, and then like winter skull hats on like inside the venue the whole time. You know, we all got to grow at our own pace, and this seemed to be a stepping stone band for them, so that's all right. There was also a guy in a Jesus is a C shirt screaming lyrics along with this band, so those are both weird surprises to me. Gave me some Five Finger Death Punch vibes, which I didn't really like, to be honest with you. The guitarist had a Rivers of Nile shirt on, and that kind of got my hopes up in sound check. Big double kicks out front, like giant, like proud drums, but they were kind of a tease because it didn't sound like they were used that much. God bless local music. Thank you, The Forge, for doing this for local bands. Forge, Joliet, Illinois, destination venue, history and heavy music lore in Chicagoland for sure. There's at least a possible bridge opportunity from butt rock to Beneath the Hollow to metal, I think though. Next to Eternity was the headliner of the show, Deathcore, 2 guitars, no bass, 4-piece band. Predictable song structures, but done really well. They were dressed in blood-splattered white t-shirts, which I didn't understand at the time, but I now know that their music has like horror themes to it. I took a pic that night with a cool guy, and he ended up on stage that night, and as you can tell, he matched the scary aesthetics to the band as well. They talked up the local charity there that night. I thought that was cool. There was a local pet shelter kind of thing that was there that night as well. It was like they had some local like craft vendors and that thing there too. The guitarist had cordless abilities, and he came out into the small crowd on the floor for kind of like a fun little moment there. I love local shows. A lot of like, you know, 1 2 3 0 0 0 0 0 0, but then like crazy solos just layered on top of the music all over the place. There was a professional feel to this band with a certain level of charisma to them, I thought. You know, it felt like they've done it before. Check out Next to Eternity's new single, Book of the Dead. And as you can tell by the single's like song name in it in font. It's about Evil Dead, the movie Evil Dead. It's funny how much that has crossed paths and it's beyond like coincidental ways with like heavy music. And I ran across this growing up as well, at probably much too young of an age. A guy in town, a friend of mine, he had like the VHS of Evil Dead or Evil Dead 2, and we would watch that thing, and you know, we kind of liked it. I remember being around for the moment when Army of Darkness came out and just absolutely loving that movie and being involved. Oh man, I actually have a buddy that dressed up as like Ash at like somewhere. I don't know if it was like a Comic-Con or something, and like he wrote a message on it. He had Bruce Campbell sign it and write a message to me on it as like a gift one time. Yeah, it's just funny how that ended up like crossing paths. And at the time we were very young, like the 80s when we were seeing that movie. And my friend, like we would, you know, listen to like heavy music. We were into like Metallica and Slayer and like, you know, definitely the hair metal bands, or went through that, or the like harsher moments of it when we were, you know, much younger kind of thing. I kind of lost track of the guy. I think, you know, I think substance abuse got him, and he might not actually have a home present day, as far as I know or understand it, and you know, that kind of sucks. So, boy, I'm really cheering this up, huh? Anyways, this next To Eternity song reminds me of Carnifex, but I like it better than I like that band. I was never like into Carnifex that much. First heard them, I think, with 2016 Slow Death album, and I've given them a few tries, but it's just never clicked with me. I even saw them live once, opening for Cattle Decapitation. Book of the Dead, this song has two cool breakdown parts to it. When the song sample goes, "You're all going to die tonight," and then it just starts chugging harder than a tourist at Oktoberfest. I don't have an ending for this, I just realized. In keeping with local band theme this week, Jeremy sported this Closet Witch shirt at a recent Narcotic Wasteland show. This Iowa grind band, Closet Witch, has only one album available on my music app, 2023's album that begins with a C. I can't recall the name, but Bandcamp has a bunch of stuff going back to 2014 on it. Witches and metal musicians actually have the same problem. You spend years learning ancient forbidden techniques, and then your family still asks when you're getting a normal hobby. Jammer shots! Jammer shots! Jammer shots! Cryptic Shift released Over Space and Super Time February 27, 2026. Last time we talked about the Worm album, where it was super complex and had a bunch of layers, and Cryptic Shift rolled up like, hold my beer. Varied music, progressive, technical, obtuse metal. This album is 800 minutes long and has more twists and turns than a pretzel in a tornado. This album is 80 minutes long and has more twists and turns than a conspiracy theorist's corkboard. This album is 800 minutes long and has more twists and turns than my headphone cables in my pocket. This album is 800 minutes long and has more twists and turns than a Russian novel translated twice. You need like a prerequisite course to listen to this album. At one point, I think the drummer proved a theorem. There is a lot here. A full-time employee Family Man. Like, as of these things, I'll never have enough time to digest this thing properly. It's like a 5,000 piece puzzle, and I'm only available for like 100 pieces at a time. So I'm probably never gonna fully understand this thing. Of all the metal that has come out this year, this has to be the nerdiest by a mile. This album is for someone who owns both a battle vest and a worksheet for it. No, boomers say spreadsheet, true nerds say worksheet. Lyrics are available, and I glanced at them on the app. I had to review my library card just to understand the lyrics. It's about, I don't know, like space and some shit, I guess. I'm pretty sure this album requires a firmware update like every 60 minutes. I probably got to break this down into understandable, able kind of chunks. Get a feel for like the first 2 tracks, and then like move on to breaking it up into sections is my advice. Hexagonal Eyes was the first song to click with me for some reason. Like, I could do a video on like every single one of these songs. Idea? How many beers can we drink during one Cryptic Shift song? That's crazy, man. I think Cryptic Shift used every guitar and pedal they had. I do like certain parts where it sits in a crazy riff for a while. I find like a smoothness to its craziness sometimes overall. I trimmed some of the like intro times to the songs, and that's a crappy reviewer thing to say, to like trim your grand opus to like manage it to my lifestyle, obviously, but that would be the criticism that a lot of people are gonna like snipe at it with. Some of you will listen to this for 5 minutes and give up on it on purpose, and I understand. Most of you will try to listen to this and then your time will run out, and that I understand as well. And some of you will have this as your album of the year, and I understand that as well. We should all get together and take gummies and like have a listening party to this thing or something. That would be fun. This is like blood incantation on meth. I don't know if I can keep up with this and hang with this. It might exceed my level of nerdiness, quite frankly. And I gotta tell you, I was around for Dream Theater when they came out back in the day. I was fully conscious when Dream Theater's first album came out back in the like early mid 90s, and I bailed on them within 10 years because it got too much in a direction I didn't care for. And I'm not a power metal guy, and this is not power metal at all, but it is bonkers, wacky, crazy. The second song on this album is not quite 30 minutes long after a semi-atmospheric yet complex opening to the album that was already a lot at a 10-minute track itself. And then this next track, the second one, just goes off bonkers with guitars by about the 6-minute mark and just continues a while with like crazy guitars. I could hang with that Buried Realm album last year, but that was like right at the line for me, like right at the line. I really enjoyed it, but I found like its aggressiveness kind of fun as well. Cryptic Shift has some of that aggressiveness. This thing might be one of my top 10 like craziest albums I've ever heard. It's an interesting album that should have the spotlight shown on it, in my opinion. Although a few folks are gonna like it just to be cool, I think there is something to this album, and if I'm able to spend more time with it, and that's not Cryptic Shift's fault, it's mine, I would love to do that, to have like so much more time with this thing. Check out Cryptic Shift, Overspace, and Super Time. Affirm and Klarna are bad. Don't do it. Don't pay for things you can't afford. Skip it. Save your money. Memorial Gore released Hung Over Flames February 23rd, 2026. You have not heard of this one anywhere, folks. 5 songs, 10-minute EP from a new band. This is quite opposite from the Cryptic Shift album. Reminds me of Hoggus a bit, mincecore if you will, a bit in the vocals, but they never do that like high-pitched scream stuff, like pitched kind of stuff, Mortician vibes, simple riffs, but strung together really well. Real drum sound, especially with like the hi-hat and ride. Yeah, like if Haggis and Mortician birthed zombie baby Jesus that was buried alive. Deep gutturals throughout this album. Cool harmonics in the opening song, Colossal Crucifixion at 2 minutes and 24 seconds. It is the longest jam on this album. It's also the only jam with like those mentioned harmonics, almost like a really slimy Davidian, but I don't want to like, you know, confuse you on it sounding like MH. Most songs get in, destroy, and get out. Each song has its own like brief personality to it though, so it's not like same to same. You can distinguish between the songs. Now it's in the same style, same heavy guitars and vocals for it, but the songs are just distinguishable. Now I know I was talking shit about like reverb heavy, non-varied cavernous vocals last time, but these are like really deep, no reverb, or at least no like echoey kind of reverb vocals, and I think they're really like gross and they really work. The way the final song, Degeneralize Mass Graves, speeds up in the midsection is so cool. Then the album like smartly rolls like right into its own restart. That rock and roll groove finishing the Breaking Wheel Fetish song is so cool. And what this band does is it'll have a notable part in each song. 3 out of 5 songs start with like snare timing hits, and I love when bands do that, when they're just like pop, 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 and then they like roll into the song. They do it live anyway. It's just like a flag going up that says like, hey, this is gonna be heavy, this is gonna be fast, or this is gonna be hopefully both. It's in all of the last 3 songs on the album, maybe the first as well, but most songs are spaced out with like a distinguishable 7 seconds of silence and what I would call like a dark tone style, right? Because they do that a lot. Sounds clean, like in the vocals and guitar tone, making the grit, not like the production or atmosphere making the grit, but we can get tricked on that a bit nowadays, I suppose, right? I'm not sure what Memorial Gore means. Gore Memorial makes more sense, and then the like title didn't seem to be taken from like Metal Archives. So I don't know, but the band's name is Memorial Gore, and if for some reason you've stumbled upon our stupid channel, I think you'll like this band and this album. My only negative thing to say is that in their photos, their band photos, they're drinking a Corona in the band photo, and any beer you have to add fruit to make it taste better is bad. Don't fruit the beer! Give this a shot. If you don't like it, you're only out 10 minutes, which is the shortest Cryptic Shift song. Plus, once you start it, you probably won't realize you've actually played it 3 times in a row. Check out Memorial Gore, Hung Over Flames. Memorial Gore is on Circle 23's label. Circle 23 is a small underground label and distro from Austin, Texas. Not genre specific, but continuing the tradition of true underground art, crushing the opposition of sellout, death metal, and poser extreme art cosplayers. Dedicated to the fight and never surrendering. Memorial Gore's music fits perfectly into this quote. Holy shit, now for something different. The same label, Circle 23, take a peek at 666 Strings of Freedom. There's a connection between the two bands, maybe, but at least the label, certainly it feels like. It's raw, punky black metal with themes of American patriotism, just ahead of 4th of July, I guess. I can't tell if there's a sincere or sarcastic kind of tone, as the vocals are not understandable. Fuzzy guitars with like black metal vocals that are just like set back in the mix, and they are screaming. The packaging and song titles make me feel like it's sincere though. Example song titles: Eagles Rally, Fallen Rockers Memorial, Charters of Freedom, Seven Stripes of Blood, Liberty Enlightening the World, Home of the Brave. There's so many like cool ideas in this, or like songs or portions of the album that would like be great in a movie. Your next movie. Memorable guitar. Like once the album ends, I hear the riffs in my head for a bit. Like after, they kind of like hang around a little, like earwormy. 666 Strings of Freedom. Everything today is so like nerdy and like wild, man. Slagmar released Holder's Ritual February 27th, 2026. The word holder keeps coming up in black metal, so I ran it through ChatGPT. I don't know that I'm not going to assume that you know much about like what Holder is either, because I didn't know much about like what it is either. So we have some prepared information. Holder is a reference to a figure from Scandinavian folklore. The Holder, also called Huldra in Norwegian tradition, is a supernatural forest being from Nordic folklore. She is typically described as a beautiful woman living deep in the woods with a hidden inhuman feature, normally like a cow tail or like a hollow or barked back to it. Now that sounds familiar from something like the barked backed female for some reason. Maybe it's like album covers or something. So from the front she appears enchanting, but from behind she is something ancient and unnatural. Depending on the story, the Holder can be a seductive forest spirit, a guardian of nature, a dangerous trickster, a symbol of the wild versus civilization, a being tied to pagan past versus Christianity. In some legends, if treated respectfully, she rewards humans with guidance, luck with cattle, protection. If disrespected, she leads people to the woods to get lost forever. There are also stories where she marries a Christian man in a church. She becomes human, but she loses her beauty. So she often represents untamed nature, pagan feminine power, the pull of the wilderness, and something beautiful but fundamentally alien. And that concludes our hasty Holder history. This band should not be confused with the band that is named Holder. Again, we're talking about this band Slagmar, Slagmaur. I was not familiar with this band, but they go back to 2006 per my music app. This is my first time discovering them. How to describe? You know, sometimes how like if we don't know how to describe something in stream music nowadays, we like kind of call it black metal. But black metal is cited in the bio, and I hear it, but I also hear like toy piano parts, Burzum vibes, but not overly so. A whiff of female vocals. I'm not trying to turn you away here at all, just show you like a weird thing. It's very industrial music-y, chanty, fuzzy black metal guitars. It's all of those things, and it's none of those things. I don't think it's sung in English. The song Hexenherger has like background screams layered up in the middle of the song, for example. It's pretty awesome, and it's also like, wow, there's a lot going on here. The tracks on this album all tend to have an overall consistent steady pulse or beat about them that's really easy to vibe with, despite the various like weird sprinkles on this like musical black metal cupcake. There's a late 90s, early 2000s weird black metal vibe to this album that might be nostalgic for some of you that have kind of heard that era of black metal. If you like this, good news, there are 4 other full-length albums to check out from this band. Yeah, so much music to sift through the last few weeks. Due to the timing of this video, I've only like heard this thing like 5 or 6 times, so I'm just pointing out I'm full of crap, but you should still check out Slagmar Holder's Ritual. I heard Megadeth had a theatrical release of a new album, and today I took in the 21 Pilots documentary with a family member. This must be becoming a thing, or usually when I know about it, it's already been a thing. I know like the apex must have been Taylor Swift talking about her movie tour thing. So this stuff's coming out. 21 Pilots. As you probably would know or expect, I'm not a pop music fan. I have never enjoyed that kind of music. So when people said, hey, Michael Jackson is great, I never really enjoyed it. When they said Lady Gaga is great, I never really enjoyed it. And the list goes on and on. I do have some nostalgic ties to 21 Pilots due to my family's connection. Hearing their album Blurry Face on rides to like vacations. So I know that particular album backwards and forward because I've heard it so many times, and I think that that was like a crazy big album. Their movie was about them performing their Clancy tour, the album before the most recent one, live and in concert at one of the largest venues, like 65,000 people at Mexico City is where they performed. My family and I actually attended this tour. It's interesting. It's the most expensive concert ticket I've bought in a while. There were, it was more than just me I was paying for. But yeah, we were talking about $250 to $300 for those tickets for sure. Each one is what I'm pointing out, which is at least 10 times more than what I'm used to paying at my kind of shows and everything. We saw that tour, and at the time I felt a little let down. I quite frankly expected more out of a band that big and that clever at that stadium. I felt like some of the stuff might have been a little too programmed in and sampled in and such for it. At the concert, I thought they could have done a little bit more. They did try to do some tricks and stuff with like a disappearing act, and they moved about. So the smart thing they talked about in the documentary, or demonstrated more specifically in the documentary, and what I did see live on that tour, was the different ways they connect with the crowd by moving into the crowd in certain ways. Set up a platform here, go to the edge here to get a little higher, show up on the absolute top floor of the stadium, have some impact and move around and get in front of people in a very personal way as possible. The video itself featured information about the concert at Mexico City. A lot of phones, just people just filming the phones the whole time kind of thing. What became clear to me that I didn't know on the documentary was that the main songwriter, right, the singer, bassist, ukuleleist person is the driving force behind that. Now, the other guy did try to be thoughtful on camera, but oftentimes he came across as almost like that super hot, like, football player that always had his shirt off, and then he kind of plays drums a little bit for it. But he is a fan favorite, as you can tell by the roars at certain moments just from him being involved in it. The careful orchestration of what people do in their lives for everything. So while 21 Pilots music, at least back in the day when they were younger, sounded very cavalier, very open, very fun, very different, it's very thoughtful in how it's done. And putting together a concert in front of over 50,000 people is an incredible achievement. I don't hate this music. I enjoyed that documentary. I thought it brought like some kind of like emotional aspects to it. It's sometimes filmed very close up, like things are nowadays, to fit on your stupid phone. but also they couldn't avoid like wide shots because they were in Mexico City. Probably, I don't know that I caught it, but a giant soccer stadium or something of 65,000 plus. The floor was full of people, packed kind of thing. My family member equated it to a Lollapalooza type experience with the numbers of people in attendance for this American band. I don't hate the music, I don't necessarily play the music, but it's been something that I've been able to tolerate in kind of a pop music front. Now, on that note, I wanted to point out that Iron Maiden is going to have a new movie out as well called Burning Ambition. Burning Ambition will be an official career-spanning documentary for Iron Maiden, and it's a big deal because it's directly tied to their 50th anniversary. Released in theaters worldwide May 7th, 2026. Tickets on sale March 18th, 2026. North America gets a limited theatrical run starting the same day. It's a full legacy documentary and it tells the entire story. The film includes exclusive interviews with past and present band members, never before seen archival footage, fan and celebrity perspectives, and impact on their music. I'm on the Iron Maiden email spam chain, so that's where this information is coming from. But there's also a final interview with original singer Paul, Paul Di'Anno, filmed before his death in 2024. So yeah, Iron Maiden movie, baby. Necrofire released Transcend into Oblivion, February 27th, 2026. Necrofire and I go all the way back to the first album, Prophecies of Eternal Darkness. I found myself not listening to it that much. Their music has a black metal smooth consistency. The music is busy, but it all has like a foggy darkness over it, carried by the vocalist's harsh delivery, screamed over the entire album. The second album, 2023's Burning Shadows in the Southern Night, I liked a bunch more. I wouldn't say stylistically it was that different of an album, but I would just say it like had better like standout moments, or like songs or like guitar portions or vocal parts that just like went better together or stood out in a better way. Better riff moments, better like lyrical moments, that kind of thing. When I first saw them on the Decibel like black metal tour with Holder the band, I studied up on the first album, Burning Shadows, because I knew the other one, the second album, pretty well. The first track on this is an intro track, and then the first three songs are kind of like the high water mark for me on the Burning Shadows album. My favorite songs on this are To the Wolves and Forbidden Light of the Black Moon. That's such a cool like 90s mayhem song title. There's also a song on the second half of this album that's pretty cool, but I forget what it's called. I forget which one it is. You run into a little bit of like sameness or consistency until like certain moments hit on this album. Vocalist and guitarist Christian Larson is a well-known in Texas as a promoter and holds a respected extreme metal music festival near Houston called Hell's Heroes. Venomous Maximus here is extremely well respected in our community as a promoter and a musician. This time they moved on to, for this album, to Big Boy Metal Blade Records with an ambitious album idea. This album is 3 songs broken up into 3 pieces with 2 tracks between the songs to break the pace and tone for a minute to tee up the next section, and a final track titled Towards the Necrofire at the end. Wait, is Necrofire a word? Necrofire is not a historical term. Its root pieces break down into necro, meaning dead, corpse, or death, and fire, which comes from the Latin-derived verb meaning to make or turn into, like liquefy, to make liquid, or petrify, to turn to stone, or zombify, to make into a zombie. So the name implies in a cool band way that which turns into like death, bringer of death, death inducer, I guess I'd say. Why am I fussing with the band name? It's because the final track uses the band name itself in a song, which I found kind of interesting. So Baka himself, the guitarist and vocalist, explains the lyrical nature and flow of this album. So I'm going to read this quote below. Transcend into oblivion is based on a Luciferian dark night of the soul. Fires of the apocalypse light my path is the awakening. The first 3 songs are experiences and dreams that were happening as this change began. And I questioned everything I was doing. It starts feeling as though a new fire has been lit. But as it grows dark, as we venture into the second act, servants of darkness guide my way. This is the struggle and torment that comes along with the awakening. Realizing things from the past are no longer true, and you see the world in a different way, and it isn't easy. All of this leads to Act 3. Horns of destruction lift my blade. This is the rebirth or the ascension. You have been transformed. You are not like you were before. You see the world differently, and you take what is yours. I'm not arrogant enough to say anything like counter to the artist's like explanation or ambitious theme of this album or anything. According to an interview we saw, writing the album in this way kind of happened organically. It came out in the writing process. This album to me is closer to Emperor in its layers of synths and orchestration. It takes a minute to truly absorb an Emperor album or song. First impression is that it doesn't have the hooks or like big moments that Emperor achieves, but I've heard it just now for like 2 days before, and I'll say there is a ton of potential here. The albums we're talking about this week need a lot of time and evaluation, which can either be a good thing for you or a negative thing for you. But this thing is paced out on the album itself, the Necrofire album, with the first segment having like these like huge fiery tracks to it. And then there's like an interlude to break up the pacing and everything. And the next set of songs, Servants, has some chanting. I find the drums stood out more when the pace was slowed down on the album, but overall it's very fast, like active, blasty drumming for sure. No particular track is standing out to me yet. Now, favorite section, maybe the middle section because it like varies more. Servants 1 is moody, slow, and fast. Servants 3 ends up slower pace, but it also strikes me as hard hitting at the right time, because the outro coming off of Servants 2 is like an acoustic outro. Nothing like overly long or weird in a bad way or anything, but the acoustic part just kind of like sets the table for 3 to drop in like an F350, but the track evolves into like furious drums and vocals with a layer of like Emperor synths on top of it, creating like quite the epic end to the Servants of Darkness section, in my opinion. So that's the middle section is kind of what I'm leaning towards right now, but that may certainly change. Just consistent in the background, like black metal screams throughout the album. Not a lot of words per se, but just monster screamed vocals. This album has me rethinking like how I've listened to the prior Necrofire albums, quite frankly. It sounds absolutely amazing. Its vocals are kind of dropped back but consistent. And the rest of the like kind of like guitars, synthy atmosphere is coming through. So it's made me kind of think like I need to go back and further evaluate the old albums, because maybe there's like parts I didn't quite understand. Check out Necrofire, Transcend the Oblivion. Don't fruit the beer! Don't fruit the beer! Don't fruit the beer! Don't fruit the beer! I have a recommendation for the 3 people who made it this far in the video. Gagstar, GARDSGHASTR, Slit Throat Requiem. Check it out. Friends don't let friends listen to Creed.